Hello everyone! Today we'll break down an absolutely brilliant game played by the 5th Women's World Champion Nona Gaprindashvili, where she sacrificed both rooks right in the opening against the German chess player Rudolf Servaty. This happened at the Dortmund tournament in 1974. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and drop a comment down below. Gaprindashvili had the white pieces and started with the king's pawn. Rudolf responded with the shark Sicilian defense. White developed the knight toward the center, black played knight to c6, and Gaprindashvili pushed the pawn to d4. After the pawn exchange, Rudolf went for the accelerated dragon variation. Black left the pawn on d7, sometimes planning to challenge the center with d5, but Gaprindashvili made it clear there would be no counterplay here. The d5 square belongs to her. This pawn setup is known as the Maroczy structure. Servaty attacks the knight, but Nona calmly defends it with her bishop, not fearing the possible queen to b6 thrust. In this position, white can cover the pawn with the knight, counterattacking the opponent's strongest piece and gaining an opening advantage. That's why in the actual game, the German player decided against queen to b6 and instead played the developing move knight to f6, attacking the pawn. Gaprindashvili offends it with her knight, but now black threatens to eliminate one of the defenders of the white knight. Of course, it's a pity to give up the bishop, so the Georgian player captures the knight. Black recaptures the piece, and the queen returns the base, creating a threat of winning a piece. Not wanting to waste time retreating, black plays e5, but in doing so, seriously weakens the d5 square. Knight to b5, threatening to capture. If black exchanges on their own, white gets a wonderful position, exploiting the weak light squares and targeting the backward pawn on d7. So in the game, Rudolf Servaty simply goes for castling. Now, however, white can't capture on d4, because after black strikes back with the pawn, followed by queen to a5, the white king would come under serious pressure. Considering this, Gaprindashvili doesn't chase the pawn, instead preparing to evacuate the king. Servaty throws his queen forward, piling pressure on the e4 pawn. White captures on d4, and after a series of exchanges, took, recaptured, traded. Everything seems balanced for a moment. Perhaps the better option for white here would have been to take on g7 and, after castling, enjoy a solid advantage thanks to superior development and black's weak isolated pawn. But in the actual game, Servaty decided he could safely grab a pawn in between moves, counterattacking the rook. The thing is, the aim of chess isn't to chase rooks or to feast on pawns. The aim is to checkmate the enemy king, which Nona Gaprindashvili is about to do very soon. So, Rudolf captures a rook, the king retreats to square d2. Of course, he could have tried to snatch the pawn, but even here white already has a decisive attack on the king. The rook and the bishop, clogged by pawns, will never see the fate of their foolish leader. White threatens to capture on f8, queen to h1, and then rook to e1. In our game, the German player decided to take the second rook on a1. Now I suggest you pause the video and find Nona Gaprindashvili's finishing blow. So I hope you managed to solve it. The game finishes with the quiet move queen to f6. It blocks the f-pawn and completely cuts off heir to the black king. On move 17, Servaty resigned since there's no adequate defense against mate in a few moves. For example, if black takes the pawn, white plays bishop to h6 threatening mate. After queen to a5, the king goes to c1, the checks stop, and white wins. Well, that's all for today's game. If you enjoyed this masterpiece by Nona Gaprindashvili, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and write a comment. It really helps the channel grow. See you soon in the next video. And as always, play beautifully and think deeply.